Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to this LEGO Lord of the Rings restricted free play speedrun. I'm CaptainPaxo. I've been running this game for over 6 years at this point. It's been a long time, but yeah, I'm happy to show this run off today. This is a kind of new category, so we'll be showing off something a little bit different, but hopefully you'll get to see some really cool tech. Before we get started with this run, I need to know, did the 8-bit music incentive get met? Okay, I'm assuming I've caught Harv at a bad time there, so I will quickly check myself. I believe it did, but I want to double check. Yes, it did. Fantastic. Okay, in that case, I will turn on 8-bit music, and we'll have this lovely copyright-free background music to listen to, which is always good fun. But yeah, let's get started. We'll start off with this level. We'll start off with Battle of Pelennor Fields. Time starts when I press A to confirm this character selection. We'll go in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, fantastic. So the reason why I'm starting with what appears to be a random level kind of partway through the run in Pelennor Fields is because this game has some tendencies to softlock sometimes. And by starting with this level, hopefully we'll be able to avoid softlocks which come up particularly in this level. That is the plan. After we've completed this level, which is midway through Return of the King, it's the 4th level in the 3rd film out of 3. After that, we will then go into normal chronological order. But I should also explain the category. Restricted free play basically means free play, so playing all the levels in free play mode, but we are limited on some of the tricks we can do. This game has some incredibly broken tricks at very high FPSs. For example, if you pause the game and you have over 1200 FPS in the pause screen, then your full speed will reset, which means you can effectively gain pretty much infinite horizontal movement. In this category, we're going to be restricting that, so we can actually see a lot more of the game that way. It's obviously a very broken glitch, but then it tends to kind of monopolize all of the strats in the game. Whereas with a restricted category, we get to see a lot more variation. We do start with this level essentially being a boss fight gauntlet though. So we're going to have a while to get through these different bosses. We start off with the Fell Beast, I believe here, which is a pretty simple boss fight. Basically, we've got to wait out each of these phases, and then at the end of each phase, we've got to hit the guy in the head 3 times. There is one small optimization I want to go for, and that's to avoid these kind of left and right walking movements. The position for that is very precise and feels somewhat random, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You see in that phase we got quite unlucky because he did, I think, 3 extra movements there. You can get 0, and it's much better if you get 0, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. But yeah, we need another attack in this phase, and then we'll have one more phase here. While we're waiting for this, we can also explain kind of some of the nuances in this game in particular, because this game is actually quite restrictive on when you can actually use your free play characters. For example, the 2 characters I'm with right now, these are the characters that you are in story. And these story characters are, yeah, you can't switch off of either of them in this particular section. For some reason, I don't know. But what the game has done instead is it's given us a 3rd character, which is this Gimli character, which we can then cycle around and treat like our normal free play character. So sometimes the game will just place restrictions on us in some sections where either we can't have a free play character at all and have to rely on items to be able to do different things, or we do have one free play character, but then we have some story characters alongside with it. It's a kind of weird nuance in this game. In this section, we've got to stand on each of these platforms and just lure the Nazgul to go onto each of these platforms, hit these boxes, and then we just hit him once, and then we get picked up by the Nazgul, and then we will go through to the next section. Bit of precise positioning there to make sure that we can progress to each phase as quickly as possible. But then we go forwards. In this section, we have got to take down some elephants here. There are how many? There are five elephants that we need to take down. 2 in this phase, 2 in the next phase. Oh, sorry, 3 in the next phase. And yeah, we have either Legolas elephants, which we use our bow and arrow to be able to basically climb up the elephant, and then we have the Aragorn elephants, where we just effectively break their ankles, I guess, to go up here. But yeah, we can also take out these NPCs on the floor. There isn't too much to do. We got a bit of a wait here. But yeah, I see a question in the chat about this category. At the moment on the boards, only story is a restricted category. However, this run, you know, it has the kind of potential under a similar kind of rule set to be restricted. It just hasn't been made onto a board category yet. Also, as we are running a bit behind schedule today, I might end up taking a couple of shortcuts and do a couple of launches here and there, but I'm going to try and avoid it where possible. Yeah, for these final 2 elephants, we can overlap these 2. Absolutely, go for it. Absolutely, and as always, all this money goes towards a fantastic cause, Extra Life, but we also want to see some goofy Lego actions going on. Yeah, buying Peter Jackson is a very cool little extra you can get for Lego The Hobbit. But yeah, so this level, we're going in chronological order now, so we're going to start off with Prologue. And this is basically kind of your main tutorial for how to actually play the game, because it's the first thing you'll load into on starting a new game. So we have these kind of waves of combat sections to deal with. That first wave is very easy. We use the jump attack on Elendil because it deals, I think, 3 HP at one time. Each of these orcs with the target on them have 3 HP, but of course by jump attacking them and dealing all 3 HP at a time, then we can kill them a lot quicker. And we'll see that again. So we get through this section with the shields. You have to take off the shields before you can attack them in any other way. That's kind of a mechanic that we see across a decent amount of the run. But it's especially prevalent in this section because we get it again here as well. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to take out these orcs, and we're going to try and remove the shields, and then my idea there was to try and get 2 of them in a close enough kind of proximity so that I can take out 2 of the orcs at the same time. Didn't quite manage it, but that's okay. It was still quick enough. And then here we go into the Sauron fight. This is a pretty straightforward fight, but the one thing you want to make sure of during this entire combat section is making sure that your characters, you make Sauron move as little as possible. So through each of these phases, our goal was to minimize how much Sauron moves. You can get 0 steps with that, where Sauron doesn't move at all. We got 1 step just as we loaded in, just as we moved into the arena, but that's not too bad. What I'm also doing is I'm holding down the B button to gain, essentially you gain invincibility by doing this, because the orcs or Sauron, none of the attacks will actually be able to hit you through that. I mean, we already have invincibility through the invincibility extra, but the way that works in this game is the invincibility extra doesn't deplete the heart count, but you still get the knockback effect that, you know, you would do if you got hit normally. So it's not as powerful as it is in some other games. I believe we also have the fast dig, fast build, and action assist extras as well, which will be helping us out with certain points during the run. But yeah, we got the final phase of this Sauron fight, and then we get into some really fun parkour. One of the big selling points for this category is just how good the kind of on-ground movement is in the platforming sections, and we get to see that shown off in a really kind of spectacular way in this section. So this section is going to be beaten entirely by 1 player, so I'm just going to send Gimli over here, and I'm going to be doing two pieces of tech in particular. The first one, which I just did with Gimli, if you saw that, was by attacking with a dwarf character or Aragorn, and then immediately switching off the character, you get a vertical boost, and that kind of gets preserved while you're moving. So we're able to use that here to be able to save a decent chunk of time. And it allows us kind of to get through all of these fire sections, and then we can get up to the top completely solo. I'm going to position myself here, try and take out these orcs as quickly as possible. Then we have 1 more wave of orcs to take out, and then we'll be able to go into Mount Doom itself. And then we, go through here, and then very simple bit of movement to end the level. Literally just walk straight to here, and that is that is prologue complete. But now we've got to turn our attention further forwards and turn our attention to Black Rider, because there's going to be a very interesting trick to start this level. And this is what's known as a DIA, or drop-in abuse. And what I did there was I dropped out player 2. And the reason for that is this level has a forced rolling mechanic throughout the entirety of it, where you're meant to be in this kind of stealth state where you're crouching. But what you can do is if you drop in as the level starts by holding a D-pad direction, you see Frodo has this forced crouch, but Sam doesn't. And we're going to use that in combination with another trick where we spam jump against this tree to gain height, and just like that we're out of bounds. And we can skip the entirety of this first section. Just like that. But yeah, so Frodo is stuck kind of rolling around like this, whereas Sam has completely free movement. So that makes this section very trivial, especially when we can combine that to get out of bounds. What I'm going to do here, however, is I'm going to drop out and then switch player 1 on this side, and that's because we want to recreate this trick again, but we have to do it this way round, with player 2 being the one dropping in, because otherwise we get the drop-in abuse, the DIA state on Gandalf, which is absolutely not useful, because we're going to skip the entirety of the Gandalf section. The way this game works in a lot of places is there are splits between the standard kind of movement, or there are splits where both players, will be controlling a certain section each. So we're able to see that here. that Gandalf is controlling the left section and we have the hobbits in the right section. But there is always a trigger in one of these sections to completely skip to the next cutscene, because it's only the game basically makes it so in the split screen, one of the split screen sections will trigger something which allows the other split screen section to end. But if we can skip that thing which is triggered and end the section ourselves by hitting either an out of bounds door or just getting a bit further along the level than we're supposed to, we're able to save a lot of time by doing that. So yeah, we save a load of time in this level by doing that. The Saruman fight, I think, is 2 minutes or something. There's been a multitude of iterations for that skip, but doing it that way in free play is certainly the fastest way of doing it. And now we are going to move on to Weathertop. Weathertop is an interesting level. We're going to start off with a lot of 1P2C. This first room is going to be entirely 1P2C, but Weathertop's home to one of the only sections where it is slower in free play than in replay story to play it. But for this first section, we have got to do a load of stuff to be able to light a fire and cook second breakfast. So we're doing that here with both characters. So we kind of try and multitask the 1P2C. So I'm going to multitask it here. So Sam will be able to collect an ingredient for the frying pan, but at the same time light this fire, and we're going to have the camera pan going while that fire is being lit. Which is a decent sized overlap actually, because the fire does take a while. And then we need to get this last ingredient, the tomato, throw it over to Sam, and then Sam will end the section. This next room is climbed entirely by one player. So we're going to see that here. Unfortunately, because I'm playing VSync off at the moment, the FPS is a little bit higher and that kind of forces the pieces to jump. But I did manage to get this jump onto the bridge, which skips a tiny amount of time. We're going to see, again, some more skips in this section using the kind of platforming with triple jumps with Gimli. So we can do one around this rock here. Okay, I just missed that. That's okay, as long as I can... As long as I can fall down there. Yep, there we go. Okay, this invisible wall is quite annoying to go around. Okay, instead I'm going to do a slightly different tech to get around this, which is known as hovering. So basically what I'm doing is I'm mashing a combination of attack and switching on both buttons at the same time. Because you want to... Oh, sorry, jump and switching both buttons at the same time. Because you want to be able to basically start a jump animation where you get a tiny, tiny amount of height. And then by switching, you interrupt that and kind of can refresh your jump ability. It's a very weird tech. The reason why I'm playing it in VSync off is because of that tech. Because that tech is possible on 60 FPS, but it's way more inconsistent. Playing it on VSync off makes it so much easier. Oh, my camera is having a moment. There we go. This section is pretty much identical to the story section. If you were playing this in story, you'd play this the same way. Sam is technically our free play character here. Frodo you can't change character with, but Sam is our free play character who can do some other stuff. Like, can switch characters, but because we only need Sam to light the fires here, there's no point changing the character. But for this section, this is the section that's slower in free play than in story, and that is because Frodo remains our player 1, but can't be switched off of. So Sam is still our free play character. So it means we've got to do a bit more, like, balancing of both characters than we kind of normally do. to make sure we get through this. In a bit of difficult 1p2c. Yeah, they both have one torch left now. Frodo just needs to light this one, and then we'll be done with the level. Like so. And now we get into a really fun section. This is Caradhras, and if you've seen Caradhras in Restricted Any Percent Story, it's a lot of kind of pick-up launches with both characters, which is a little bit strange, and they tend to be quite precise. In this version of Caradhras, we get to have fun. So instead, we are going to do a jump around here with Gimli, which gets us past that first rock wall into this next section. We can jump across this with Legolas, which is technically not intended either. Then we have a very precise triple jump which we can do. We need all the height we can get, so we use an elf, which jumps higher, and then equip it with an axe. Equip the elf with an axe, and that means we can take advantage of the triple jump tech and get more height off of it. And we can use that to get up to this upper section. Then from here we chain another hover over here. And that allows us to get over to this side. And then we have a few more hovers for the section, so we get one more around this rock barrier. And I can do one over that for style. Another one to get around a weird invis wall here, so we can get up to the upper platform. And then one final one, and this is going to put us in the snow. And once we're in the snow, Legolas has the best movement here, but I actually need to switch Legolas's weapon now, so we can get a normal attack. And that's because the outer bounds door for this is just off to the side. And then we can hit it. This room is, again, pretty 1p2c heavy. We've got to build a fire and basically break down the doors of Durin. This is another section that's also weirder, or very, very different in feel in free play versus story. Because in story, you have 9 characters or something here. But in free play, you have 2, so the kind of movement you need to take is a little bit different. And we can drop down here, open the door, and we go into... Let's switch to Legolas here, there we go. We go into another boss fight. And this boss fight is the Watcher. We're going to start off with some RNG here. Basically, we need 4 of the Watcher's, I guess, hands or tentacles to come down and attack us. So that was the first one. Each of them is RNG, though, whether they do the right attack animation. Sometimes they'll do a swipe, and sometimes they'll throw a rock. The chances of getting perfect RNG, though, are actually quite high, because there's something that goes on behind the scenes with the game that means you're more likely to get this attack. It's like a 90% chance to get this attack. But sometimes you can get those extra animations, and each extra animation will lose about 10-15 seconds or so. So we get one here. On the final one, which is annoying. I thought we were going to get away RNG perfect, but no. Marathon luck has to strike at some point, right? But yeah, we also picked up Gimli in that camera pan. Bit of fun thing with that camera pan. You can actually move in that camera pan if you're in a picked up state, but you can only move in one direction, which makes it very not useful. You can kind of inch a little bit closer to where you need to throw to hit the Watcher, but that's about it. And then we shoot one of the Watcher's eyes, and we repeat the phase again. So we have, this is a scripted waiting section. There's nothing really we can do to speed it up, other than make sure we're in the right position to be able to throw Gimli as soon as possible. And then we're in a good position with Legolas to fire off the final shot. Like so. And we now have entered into the Mines of Moria, and the Mines of Moria is a pretty infamous section in restricted free play. It is a run killer of a trick to start with, which I'm going to try for a little bit doing it the restricted way, and then if that doesn't work, I'm going to try doing it the unrestricted way. But what we got to do here, this is a launch which I actually have to switch my FPS to 60 or it just doesn't like to work. But this is known as a pickup launch. Basically what I'm going to do is pick up a small character, which is an intended mechanic. Pick up a small character with a big character. And then by putting them down at a certain time, I'm able to then get a launch off of that, off some slightly weird collision. And we're using that to kind of try and catch onto a very small ledge on the wall. And then I need to inch along that wall to try and make it out of bounds. Which is not very easy to do, and the visibility is not great either. That was close to making it, but not quite. Didn't quite get enough height on that one. Or that one. This one, the launch itself is also very timing specific. You have to time kind of in terms of Legolas's step cycle for when you put down the small character. And unfortunately, we're not getting much dice with it at the moment. I'll try it for a bit longer, and then if this fails, we'll go for the intended way. I say intended way, I mean the unrestricted way. Nothing we're going to do here is intended. There we go. And I back this up from here is the big question. I think I'm not too far off. That's not going to work from there. That's a shame. Okay, give this a couple more attempts, and then we'll go do the normal way. Not normal way, unrestricted way. That was really close to making it as well. I think I was like a couple of pixels too far to the side, otherwise I would have made it. Okay. We will give up on that and do a cool launch instead over on this side, which will achieve the same purpose of getting out of bounds. And then once we are out of bounds in the right spot, we are going to be hitting an unintended dev door. So it's a door left in by the developers. Okay, this launch does not want to work right now. A door left in by the developers that kind of progresses through the story without us actually having to play the story. So we're going to be doing that here once this launch works. That was nowhere near enough height. You need quite a high launch here to be able to do this, so hopefully I can get this soon. Hopefully. Okay, there we go. But yeah, you'll see with Pippin, because that's who we're playing at the moment, we can make our way all the way over to here. And hopefully we get a respawn. Nope. Okay. We got full rescued back to exactly where we were. That's unfortunate. This looks like more height, so I think we should be good. Just about, maybe? Yes. Okay, we're in a good position here. I'm now going to switch to Legolas, and I'm going to be doing a setup to try and hit this out of bounds door, which is quite precise and annoying to hit. But hopefully this will go okay. Okay, not quite that time. I don't think that was too far off though. But basically what we've got to do is take advantage of some of the weird physics in this game. In the sense that when you fall down at a certain position... Oh, sorry, when you double jump... Let me just try and get this. Oh, I thought that one was good. But yes, when you double jump, and you double jump below the height of where you started, you can still do the attack, and the attack will bring you back up with a like massive boost of height. Okay. Gonna give this a couple more tries, and then if this doesn't work, we're just gonna play this as intended. It's really annoying. I was really hoping this would work, but game is not playing ball right now. Okay. Try setting up a bit wider. Okay. Okay, nah, it's not gonna happen. Okay, we will play this as intended then, which is an unfortunate time loss, but it is what it is. So what we've got to do to play this as intended, I'm gonna have to do this section one player, and then we can move into two player for the next section, but that's okay. But yes, what we've got to do here is we've got to rescue Pippin from the well, so I guess we have to actually do that or something. Boring, I know, but it is what it is. But yes, oh, I have the crank in my inventory, I forgot about that. And then from there, we will go into barricading these doors to try and stop the orcs attacking us. So we've got a decent bit of gameplay we're going to have to do, and part of that is this section, which is a complete auto-scroller. Basically, I call this a stationary auto-scroller. You just kind of chill here for about, well, a good few minutes. Well, I think it's a minute exactly, actually. So you're just kind of waiting here until this section resolves itself. This section looks very empty in free play in particular. In story, the game kind of makes it so there is one orc per character. In free play, obviously, they do that as the same, but instead of there being 9 characters, there's only 2. So this section just looks completely barren. But yeah, there isn't much to do here. The one thing I like to do here is just chaining backflips with Legolas, which is very fun. It doesn't exactly do anything, but I'm literally just holding the A button down and then just moving my direction forwards and backwards, and that's enough to chain it. Go for it. Absolutely, yeah, get those donations in while you can, especially for the Peter Jackson run. or Peter Jackson purchase. It's a very, very cool touch from the devs to include a Peter Jackson character in LEGO The Hobbit, and you know what? Why don't we honor that as we go? Yeah, only $30-something dollars away, so getting there. We can definitely make that this run. While that's going on, we've got this boss fight. This boss fight is quite slow, but we are nearly through it. Just need to jump on each section and then go through. And then we have this kind of auto-scroller section, which all we've got to do is defeat these wave of orcs that kind of jump into this bubble. There's kind of some small bits of tech to it that we can do here. For example, in story, what we tend to do is have one character be Pippin and one character be Sam. The reason for that is Sam's frying pan does double damage compared to most other weapons in the game. Any of the other ones you have access to here only do 1 damage. Sam's does 2. And on top of that, Pippin is also the fastest attacking character as well. So we kind of chain both of them together to save some time. In this case, we only have... Oh, in this case, because we can freely select characters, then we can... yeah, we can freely select characters. We choose Double Sam. I think it's a pretty arbitrary decision between the two, but I always tend to go with Double Sam. It just looks cooler as well, just seeing, you know, the might of all the orcs being taken out by a chef with a frying pan. And now we've got to go and head to the next door while escaping the Balrog. This is not too lengthy of a section, but we don't have a way to skip this, which is kind of strange, but the way this game has kind of designed itself here is the door is through, the door that takes you to the next section is blocked, like inside the door itself. So we unfortunately are not able to clip through it or anything. We don't have that kind of tech available to us in this game. So instead... So yeah, we'll go through this section. And then we will... jump down here just to save a little bit of time of actually walking down the stairs, and then we will go down to this next section, and there's a very small skip we can do here where we can jump around and hit that trigger there, and then we go into a long section with Gandalf, and I'm just going to sort out a tech thing real quick. Right, hopefully that's better now. Normally in a restricted category you would have to play this boss fight all the way through. However, because we lost some time to not getting Moria A skip, instead we're going to go for this skip, which is a roll launch. So what's happening here is we're double jumping onto a slope, and then as we're on the slope, changing VSync to on. Wrong spot. I think I'll drop out to make it easier. But sorry, changing VSync off, so we're increasing the FPS artificially as we hit the slope, and that allows us to climb. Oh, the game effectively miscalculates. We can go all the way up. And that is the level. Moving on now to Amon Hen, which is... Yep. So yeah, Amon Hen is the last level in Fellowship of the Ring. So we are going to be trying to skip this. This is the only split screen section we actually don't have a skip for at all. So instead we've kind of got to do some 1P2C, 1 player, 2 controllers, 2 characters to be able to skip this section. We do skips on both sides of things though. So with Frodo there, I got to jump against a pillar and was able to use that to go around and skip the section. So we've kind of left Boromir behind and we can just go straight to the end of the section. Frodo is still the bottleneck though, but at the same time I'm going to be doing some small skips like that roll boost with Gimli to be able to skip a little bit further ahead.
Do you have a quick second now that the tech issues are good?
Yeah, go for it.
Perfect, yeah, so just 2 quick updates. Reminder first, buy Peter Jackson for Lego the Hobbit only has $33 left on the incentive. That is the next run. So if anybody wants to close that out, play as Peter Jackson in the Hobbit. A very nice, I guess, Easter egg, a very nice touch from the dev. And in addition to that, Lego Batman the video game DS, Save the Goons is beating Kill the Goons by $1. So any Goon fans, anybody who wants to make sure the Goons survive, be sure to increase that margin. Anybody who wants to see the Goons kill, be sure to donate. Any amount counts, only $1 difference right now. So, back to you.
Cool. Yeah, let's get those donations rolling. Now we've got the tech issues fixed. But yeah, all we were doing there was a simple section to get through to this, and now we've got to fight some orcs here. And we can do that. We can do a lot of work here with Legolas, because Legolas can kind of snipe these orcs from on top of the platforms. But also is just, as an archer character, can just shoot long distance as well. It becomes very, very useful. We've got to break the shields on these few orcs that we have remaining. And then we jump down for this final phase of this section before we go into the boss fight. So, kind of 1P2 seeing this by just essentially mashing attack with Gimli on the floor, and then with Legolas jumping up top and being able to take out the rest of the Uruk-hai. And like that we go through into this next boss fight. This is a good boss fight when it doesn't softlock. I will say, this is one of my favourite ones when it plays nice, but sometimes it will softlock. If it softlocks here though, I'm not going to replay the level, and we'll just continue on and pretend we completed the level. Because it is a 5-minute or so time loss, and there's nothing really much to showcase beyond it. But we have these phases where Boromir's getting shot by multiple objects at multiple times, and instead what we do is we are just, well, skipping the cutscenes, but then just trying to make sure we get to hit Lurtz as much as possible, because Lurtz is the Uruk-hai on the platform. We have this kind of second phase where Lurtz has 5 hearts. The one thing to focus on here is to just try and minimize the amount of time the enemies are in the arena. We want to clear these enemies as quickly as possible, because then it just makes the section quicker, because Lurtz is dependent on those enemies. What I'm also doing with Gimli is positioning myself on the platform up here, and that reduces the amount of airtime that the knives that Lurtz is throwing has to go through, and that just speeds things up a little bit. We've got one more phase of this, where we've got to clear out these enemies, and then Lurtz will jump down and start attacking us. Again, I can minimize the airtime of the knives this time by just camping in this corner here. Can do the same for the shield as well. Now we have this scripted fight. And then what we're looking for here is as one character is picked up by alerts, the other one immediately attacks. And like that we can end the level. So that is the Fellowship of the Ring done, plus Palinor Fields, because we did that level at the start. But now we go on to a really, really interesting level. This is Taming Golem, and we will not be playing this at all as intended for either section. The first section, we're going to be hitting an out-of-bounds dev door again, so an unintended door that we're not supposed to hit, which is just to the side of this main door. Now, if you're playing as unrestricted, this door hit is really easy because you can pause fly, which kind of stalls your vertical speed, which means you can really line up for this this trigger well. Unfortunately, playing restricted, we don't have that luxury, so I've got to try and aim it so that we land on a very small platform, which is just on the right spot. And this is annoyingly difficult to aim for. But we jump dive against here, get an insane amount of height for no reason. It's just a weird bit of collision that's there. And we're looking to come out into this kind of roll structure. That was very close, but I needed to be a little bit further forwards, I think. So we'll try it again here. Again, needed to be a tiny bit further forwards. Okay. There we go, got the roll out, and then hopefully... Okay, that was a little bit too far forwards this time. There's a very small edge we have to land on. Okay, there we go. And there we go, we hit the door. And now this section, I could attempt to explain what's going on here, but it's probably best just to see it. The first thing we're going to do is interrupt the phase of Golem's like regular scripted animation by hitting Sam. And then we just have the ability, with this weird rope that's generated, to be able to climb pretty infinitely with Golem. And we can use that to go forwards, and if I line it up right, we're able to just hit an out-of-bounds door, which then progresses the section. I thought that was it. It's very strange that this glitch will work. The game completely freaks out with this rope physics. Okay, where's this door gone? It appears to have disappeared. And then we fall down all the way. That's fine, because we have full rescue. Oh! That's something I've not seen before. That rope's disappeared. Okay, that's fine. We go again. So we're going to have to play the second phase of this fight now, which is a bit unfortunate. But I'm still going to try and go for the trigger again, because it's funny. But I'm going to need to generate another rope here. With Sam. Forgot I needed to hit twice. There we go. And yeah, basically the rope has a hitbox, and we can use that to climb. It's very strange why it works. But it just kind of does. I think it was a tiny bit too high for that one. I think it's quicker to just let that fall as long as the full rescue assists. Yeah, it does. Eventually this will work. Just need to find the exact right spot. I think too high still. See if this one will work. Okay, I'll give this a couple more shots, and then if this doesn't work, just play the level how you're supposed to. This might work. Ah, come on, game. But yeah, working with this hitbox is very strange. Okay, let's just do the final phase, if the game will let me. Okay, I can't actually do it with that version of Golem. We're just gonna have to let that version of Golem float. That's fine. So let's throw the fish here. Okay, I'm just gonna have to do this for Sam. Oh, okay, that's fun. We weren't quick enough getting there because I was trying to battle player 2 and then player 2 went, nah, I'm just gonna have the world's largest hitbox. So this run isn't going great at the moment, but it's fine. It looks like Sam's going on a magical adventure. Hopefully I can still access the circle. Yes. Okay. You know what? Some physics is happening, but it works. We get through the level. That's a side effect of, I guess, freaking the game out that much. But it's fine. We now go on to Dead Marshes. This is a super, super fun level in this category. This is probably my favorite level in this category. Just because of how purely broken it is. And we're going to see that here. So first thing we're going to do is come around here. And we were able to do a triple jump to be able to escape that. And then we can make our way round this rock. Kind of half in, half out the swamp. And make it over to this platform. So we've completely sequence broken the section already. This section is usually quite slow with how it should be, but we've completely sequence broken that. As you can see, the fire spawns behind us because that's when Golem should walk through it, but we've just walked through it ourselves. And then that ends this section. But this second section is more broken because we can spam the hovers here. So these hovers are mashing A and the switch character buttons at the same time, so mashing your jump and switch characters at the same time, to effectively reset your double jump mechanic. And we can just spam that over and over again. We have this cruel section here, but instead I'm going to be not allowing the game to ever put us in the cruel state by interrupting it with a slam and an attack. And by doing that, we can get all the way over to this section completely free. And then from here, once we're in the marsh again, we can get a jump. And then with that jump, we're able to use the hovers again. And then we can take that all the way over to this side, where I'm going to do... just missed that one. Just popped up a little bit short. Okay, let's actually get the interrupts here. There we go. And then we can use that to go around this side, and that is the section. And then we have one final section here, This section is a little bit strange because you're meant to go into a scripted animation to fight the riders at the top of these elephants. But if you're a character that's not ever coming into contact with an elephant during story, then you can do these, you can just regular attack, and that is enough to be able to climb, or that is enough to be able to just insta-kill the guy up top. So we do that to be able to finish off this section way quicker than we supposedly should. And with that, the level is done in less than 3 minutes, even with the mistake there. A very fun level, that one. And then we now go into a sequence of quite short levels, actually. We start off with Track Hobbits, and what we're going to see in this very first room is a pickup launch, like we did, or tried to do in Moria. This one is a lot easier, though. But basically what we've got to do is have a big character and a small character have some kind of collision in the way, and then try and pick up the small character with the big character, and we just go flying. You gain so much height from this, and then we can use that to just walk along the out of bounds line, and that is the section complete. This section, there's so many camera pans and such that we just skip there. It's very nice to be able to skip that. And then we hop down here. And we have a couple of camera pans in this section, but we can basically just beeline to the end of this section by doing triple jumps. And I believe we already fully built the criteria to end the section, which is to climb the tree. We then just climb the tree, and then here. This next section, again, the glitches don't stop in this level. We are going to be doing an out of bounds glitch by literally just picking up Sam with the tree and then placing him out of bounds. One of the simplest out of bounds glitches you can possibly do. The one thing to make sure with it is that the Ent's right foot is out of bounds, or is like forwards when you put it down, and then you put the character down and they go directly out of bounds. And we could follow the entire out of bounds line of this section. This section is meant to be basically a whole escort mission for the Ent to get Treebeard all the way to the end where you meet Gandalf and such, but we're not going to bother with that. We're just going to go and see Gandalf ourselves. Navigating this out of bounds is a little bit awkward just because of how many trees there are in the game's background. Kind of picking gaps in the branches which I recognize to be able to get through. And then we have to go far enough down here to be able to spawn Gandalf's light, like so, and then we can just beeline to the end. So that's a very quick level. And with that, we are halfway through the Two Towers, which is the middle film. So we're on pretty decent pace right now, and we go into another quick level, which is Walk Attack. This level is very quick, but what you're going to see here is a boss fight. And this boss fight is pretty simple in principle. All you've got to do is hit Wormtongue, and then use magic or whatever it is on Theoden to be able to heal him. We'll see that again in this phase. And what we got to do this time is Wormtongue will react to us trying to heal Theoden. So we have to wait for Wormtongue to get into the cage before we then use the magic, so I can use it now. And then Wormtongue will hit us, start the next phase, and we go again.
If I go, Theoden dies.
And then final bit of magic, and that is the section complete. And we now are on horseback for this section. So the game has some very goofy AI pathing and physics for this section, which can be quite annoying. As you saw there, the fact that we didn't get a second hit off there was certainly something. But what you got to do is take out the waves of wargs that are coming for you. And it is much better to have two characters on, or two characters with swords rather than trying to deal with a character with a bow, like Legolas, for example, because Legolas is very annoying for this section. I'm also making sure I don't switch characters here, because there is a chance of soft-locking if you do that, where in this phase, when you get kicked off your horses, and then you have to join onto the wargs, you then can't attack with the wargs, which is very annoying if that happens. Hopefully I don't get that with either character. If I get it with one character, it's manageable, but yeah, we didn't get it with either, which is nice. I believe the final warg is around here, yeah. There we go. And yeah, another quick level done and out the way. And we now go forth to Helm's Deep. Helm's Deep will get to see a lot of uses of the triple jump mechanics in this, which is where you attack with a character which does a kind of slam attack, where they effectively, when you press the attack button, they jump up a bit and then they'll like ground pound the floor with an axe or something. So the most common one for that is Gimli, but also Aragorn gets it, and you can also use items like axes to be able to use it. We're going to use that here with Gimli to be able to climb up to the wall way earlier than we should, ignoring everything we're supposed to do on the right side. And from there, enter this section. And then in this ladder section, we have some 1p2c to do. This 1p2c is obviously very different to the 1p2c we do in story. If you notice, a lot of the abilities are gate kept by certain items. So for example, on the left side of things, we just had an axe plate with Gimli. Only a dwarf can hit that. And then we finish it off with a higher belt that only Legolas or a character with a bow can shoot. So in story, it's a lot of kind of running back and forth with both characters to make sure you can, you know, hit everything when you need to hit it and all that stuff. In free play, you could just switch characters and it makes it so much simpler. Also, having invincibility on means you don't need to worry about those things. The guards, which is very nice, and you can finish the section like so. And then from here, we're going to do the triple jumping stuff again with Gimli, or we can do it with Aragorn, one of the two. And again, we're going to do a small sequence break here by jumping around this wall, like so. And that brings us up to here. And then we've got a very cool trick coming in this next one. So this next run is split into kind of multiple sections where you're meant to like help Legolas at the or help Legolas from the bottom, and then Legolas helps you from the top. But the check for whether you've completed this section is to make sure there are two characters up on the upper level. That is the check in story, and that is the check in free play. So by doing that strat where we hover into the wall and occasionally like clip in and get a small jump, we're able to instantly scale that section and just skip the entirety of everything we're meant to do there, which is like 2-3 minutes of gameplay. And then we have this auto scroller to finish off this section. Unfortunately, no way of skipping this, but yeah, it is what it is. Good time to remind you guys, we still need those donations in for the Peter Jackson Lego The Hobbit incentive. And there we go, that's the section complete. So we do get some weird cutscenes after this, which normally play after you've completed the level normally, but that's fine. We now go into Osgiliath, which is the last level in the last level in the Two Towers. And again, it is no less broken than any of the others. In this case, we are going to go around this way and do some triple jumping to be able to get over here with Gimli, like so. And then we can triple jump through this entire front side. This is meant to be like a collaboration between kind of the front side and the back side working together to like remove different Nazgul and like clear the path for each other and whatever, but we don't subscribe to that. Instead, we're going to hover from here and hopefully we make it over the gap for the Nazgul, which we do, very nice, and we're right at the end of the section. Like so. And then we have this section here with the ants. These ants are pretty cool, but we're going to break them a decent bit. So what I'm going to do is on this slope, attack, alt tab out the game, and then press pause. This is another way of kind of artificially getting a launch. And then I walk to the left for 9 steps to make sure that we get up to the top. And then we land out of bounds right here, which is kind of on the wall, but this wall has collision all the way across this kind of massive chasm. So we're able to use this to walk across and basically skip going around the entire other path of the section. So instead of doing anything that's really intended, we get ourselves over to here, and then we're right by the dam, which is what ends the section. We've got to throw these rocks to be able to build our path, and then we can... hopefully, there we go. We can hopefully get rid of the 2 supporting beams, and that ends the section. There's one. And eventually, there we go, there's the other. Nice. Okay, so from here, we have 5 levels remaining. The next level we're going for is another one of my personal favorites. This is Secret Stairs. This has a very cool out of bounds, which we'll get to showcase here. So what we'll do is, this first room also has an out of bounds. We'll go up here, and then with Golem, we're going to jump across this way. And we are completely out of bounds here. We basically circumnavigate an entire invisible wall to get over to the next side. And then we are able to use some triple jumps here to triple jump up along here. Just missed that one. Triple jump along here and up, like so. And then, oh, that was some interesting physics. And then with Golem, again, we're going to go out of bounds just by moving along a railing, which is incredibly counterintuitive, but that's how it works. And then we can fall down out of bounds, and this is a massive out of bounds where we essentially get underneath the kill plane for the fall. Just missing that second bit of the jump. But we get out of bounds, not quite. Not quite. Quite finicky to be able to get the out of bounds itself. I think I might just be holding the wrong angle. There we go. And then we fall down here, and we are completely out of bounds underneath the floor. And we can just walk with Golem to the end of this level, which is pretty insane. But we're going to see that here. We just go all the way through. And we should come across an invisible, which pushes us back in bounds about here. Okay, I went a little bit too far. Or not far enough, maybe. I'm not sure. Seems to be in a weird spot. There we go. Okay, and that ends the section. And now we've got to go through Shelob's lair. So if you don't like spiders, I'd turn the stream off for the next couple of minutes. Because we get a lot of spiders here. But thankfully, we have the light from Gandalf's staff, which is able to scare away all of the smaller spiders. We can just completely... they get forced out of the way, we don't get slowed down or anything, which is really nice. Normally you can use that with one of Frodo's items, the Light of Arendelle, but it's a lot slower to use that, so instead we use Gandalf's staff instead. And we'll see that here. There's like 3 different layers of spiders here. Normally with Frodo, if you go through, he has to like pull out his like light vial each time, but instead we can just do that and then triple jump up to here. And then just to finish off this section, we have to build this kind of receptacle for different blocks of stone, just to weigh it down, and that breaks the spider web, and I get launched all the way over to the side. I have not seen that before. But there we go. We have a small auto-scroller now here, not too lengthy. And then we will keep on going. Yeah, so we'll go straight into continuing the spider theme with Curathon Goal. That level felt like it ended later than it should have done, but that's fine. Yeah, we'll continue the spider theme with going on to Curathon Goal. And we start off with a boss fight against Shelob. So we'll see that here. You can skip this in unrestricted free play and such, but in restricted free play there is no way to do it without pause flying at the moment. So we have got to play this level, which is not too bad. This isn't too long of a boss fight, but all you've got to do is use the sword and light to be able to distract Shelob. Okay, Shelob's doing a great job at gatekeeping it right now. That is a really unfortunate position. Okay, there we go, finally. The weird thing about this is, though, you have to use the light that's on the floor. You can't use Frodo's light that he just has in his inventory at this point. You have to use the one that's on the floor, and the sword that's on the floor as well, or the attacks just don't register. Which I guess makes sense, but it's a bit of a weird situation for casual players anyway, who will try and, you know, equip Frodo's, or just use Frodo's normal weapon when replaying this section in free play, and then realise you've got to actually grab the one that's there. We've got one more phase of this here, where Frodo is just going to attack Shelob. This one, the animation takes a little bit longer, but then we're good. And then we go forwards onto this section. So this is kind of descending the tower into Curathon Goal. So we'll see that here. We've got to play these first couple layers as intended until we get to here, basically. And then what we're going to do here is once that's in place, we can jump and grab the ropes during the camera pan, and then jump down with Sam. And try to do a blind triple jump there to try and climb over, but we skip a trigger by doing that jump up there, and then we're going to try and get through this door here. And we hit the door, and good, the game didn't crash. I had it crash just there earlier today, so I'm very glad that didn't happen. So what you're meant to do in this section is go through the door by equipping the right armor and such. Similar to the start of this level, the game does check whether you have the armor or not. You can't just be like an enemy character and wave at the gates or anything. Obviously we don't have that, but that's not a problem because we're just going to skip things instead. So we're going to triple jump up to here. And then we're going to do a hover just to get over a small piece of collision just here. And then I'm going to do a V-sync launch. Oh, that was not what I wanted to press. There we go. And we can use this to launch up. And from here we just fall down behind the gate and we finish the level like so. Nice and simple. Okay, so we have 3 levels left now, which means we have a decent shot of being underestimated, especially as these are some of the shorter levels, but that also means even less time to get that incentive met for buying Peter Jackson for Lego The Hobbit, so make sure to get those donations in. In the meantime, we will be on our way through this level. This is one of the few levels that it's not possible to skip really in unrestricted, because, well, this entire room is set in a cave and they actually did put a proper ceiling in here. So I think so far no out of bounds spots have been found for this level, which is kind of cool to try something, or to have something a little bit different, but it also means there's overlaps between the 2 categories, which is fine. We'll see that here we make use of the triple jump tech to be able to get up there, and then from here I'm going to keep this section entirely 1 player. We are going to do a hover over here. Normally you're supposed to build this bridge, but that's too long and boring and complicated, and we don't need to have a way back or anything. I'm sure nothing will go wrong when we talk to the King of the Dead. Then we can just make our way up here and continue through this axe plate, and then up the next bit. So to open this gate, we've got to come over to the ledge on the left. We just reach that with a simple triple jump, and then we can open the gate and go through. Like so. And now we're in the boss fight. Now, I did mention earlier with this boss fight that with some of the levels in this game, there is a tendency to kind of limit the access you have to free play characters. This level is absolutely no exception. So I cannot switch my character with player 2 right now. My player 2 is stuck on Aragorn, which is fine because you need Aragorn to finish the section. But it means even if I wanted to speed up like the axe plates at the start of this boss fight or something, I'm not able to. I just have to play it kind of 1 player, more so. I also need to keep track of which Aragorn is the correct Aragorn as well. And it is my player 2 one. Obviously, visually, there is no difference between them, I think. Actually, they might be slightly different outfits. Yeah, they are. the player 1 Aragorns and the more royal kind of outfit, but realistically there's no quick way of identifying them. So instead you've got to rely on kind of which character is moving which at any one time. But yeah, we build these 4 towers. Hopefully this boss won't softlock. Fingers crossed. This boss sometimes has a tendency to softlock if you hit him too quickly from one of these platforms, but he's flashing red now, which means he's on 1 HP. So I think we're okay. Nice. Cool. Another level down.
With that level down, do you have a quick second for a donation read?
Go for it.
Perfect. We have $15 from the Lego Centel newsroom, saying we're sending an associate to document the reported Peter Jackson appearance in Middle-earth. So we're getting some official reporting here. Very excited for that. So thank you, whoever's behind Lego Centel. That puts us at $84 for Lego the Hobbit by Peter Jackson. So only $16 left. If anybody wants to come in and seal the deal on that, $16, we can make Peter Jackson get the Lego Centel reporters, get something. And with that, that is going to be it for me on hosting for today. But coming in next is Shimkin. Hopefully, we'll give him some donations to read.
Yes, thank you, Bob.
Okay, fantastic. So while I'm getting extremely bodied by these orcs here, what I'm gonna do is I'm setting up for hitting an out of bounds trigger for this section. This level is basically just one massive boss fight, or combination of boss fights. But there's an out of bounds door we can hit which ends the section immediately, and it's accessible from the very start. The issue with it is that you have to deal with these orcs that like to just attack you, and if they attack you, then you get knocked back, which is really annoying. That was a very annoying knockback. So I turned off invincibility to try and get iframes to be able to hit the trigger, and then we hit it there, which is very nice. Okay, we only have 1 level left now, so we're about 3.5 minutes away. But yeah, that skip was found not too long ago actually, but it was actually it's been a few years now, but it's a very cool skip. It saves probably 5-6 minutes maybe, depending on how quickly you can get it, but it's a very fun skip. So this level we end with, or we start with a little platforming section here, our final one of the run, and it's just as notoriously broken as the rest of them, because we can make this jump around the side rather than some other stuff which you're supposed to do, I think lowering the rocks or something. We can just skip all of that, and then we can show off the hovers one last time across this gap here, like so. In fact, we can show them off one more just to get across here, and then we can do another triple jump to make it up to the top here. And then we are going to go, instead of what you're supposed to do and doing a boss fight with Gollum on the slopes of Mount Doom, the door to Mount Doom is already open, so we might as well just invite ourselves in and head directly in there. And there is actually a trigger to immediately start the next section, which is another boss fight with Gollum. So what I did as well was switch my FPS to 60. This section in particular tends to freak out with FPSs higher than 60. So we switched to 60 to make it a bit easier. What I'm also doing is I am taking deaths with Frodo on player 1, and that's going to skip Gollum jumping on Frodo's back, which does lose some time. We want Gollum to stay up basically this side near the platform, because the next kind of scripted walk Gollum has to take takes us right to here. And then we will rinse repeat. I'm going to do a small skip with Sam here. Normally you're supposed to build stuff and go to the right, but you can just jump back to the platform you were already on or originally on. And then use that to be able to make your way up to the top. And we can attack Golem one more time. And while this scripted animation is going on, I'm also going to turn off full rescue. And the reason for that is we can do one final small skip, which avoids us jumping into this little alcove and having Frodo build some boxes and stuff. Our respawn with Sam is still set on the upper level, so we can just fall down with Sam and we'll respawn back up top. And that's a very small skip. And then we hit Golem here. And we go into our final auto-scroller. So once this auto-scroller ends, that will be time. So it's been a fantastic run. It's been really good to showcase kind of a more niche category of this game at LEGOthon, and there's some very cool tech in this run. Very interesting sections. We had some mishaps earlier in the run, but I think it's still come together for a good showcase. But yeah, very close to time here. Time is now. And there we go.
It's gone. Yes, Mr. Frodo.
But yeah, thank you very much for having me for this event, allowing me to be able to showcase this run. I will be back tomorrow doing LEGO Harry Potter Years 1 through 4 all character tokens, which is also another fun, more unique kind of run. But yeah, shoutouts to everyone who's been working on this game over the years. So starting off with Loz and Lava Fang, going on to the work that Hamster's done, Dedra's done, Flup and Carcoon obviously recently have pushed this game quite far, especially in the restricted categories. Seeds found some stuff along the way. But yeah, thanks to everyone for this run, and yeah, we'll go on to the next run now.
Yeah, thank you for showcasing that, Pax. That was an awesome run to watch. Can't wait for the next one coming up here right after a quick break. We have the Hamster with restricted, no levels early for Lego The Hobbit. We still need a little bit more money to meet that Buy Peter Jackson incentive that he will hopefully be doing at the end of that run. So anyone who has a donation to get in before the end of that run, you can still meet that incentive. But we'll see that here in just a minute. We'll take a quick break and then we'll come right back.